is part 2 of Nana's nightgown, where I started out with a 3X size nightgown, and in part 1, if you missed that, is it here or there? Go check that out. I make a super simple tank anyone can do, but for this episode I am using the rest of all of that skirt material, and I decided to make a pair of pants. And you know what? I'll let you decide if they're pajamas or more than that. This is the original nightgown I found for $3 at the thrift store, and since I already made a tank from the top half, I'll be using the rest of this skirt to make these pants. So, my plan for these babies is to do a wide-legged cropped pant using the lace slits on the sides, of course, and I'll be using the extra fabric that I have for the waistband, and I decided to make a decision on what closure to do as I went along. Oh, and thank you to my roommate Verena for suggesting this idea. I'm going to be using a pair of pants I already have and that I like the fit of to pattern out these new pants. Since this skirt already has 2 side seams and those lace slits, I'm not going to mess around with them. I'm going to keep them how they are. So that means I'll need to trace the front rise on the front here and the back rise on the back here, repeating for the other leg. To start out, I'm folding my pants in half to see the front rise right here. Then I'm laying the skirt on top with both of those side seams matching up. And I also gave myself a little bit of space here because I didn't want them to be as baggy as my other pants. And then I traced that same shape of that front rise with fabric chalk, giving myself a good inch of seam allowance, which I then flipped over and did the same method on the back, but using the back rise to trace instead. I trusted myself enough to do it this way, but if you're a first timer / just want to do things the right way, I recommend drawing these on paper first and then transferring to your fabric. Then I cut out the front and the back separately on those lines that I just traced and cut straight all the way down to the bottom. Then I pinned each of those newly cut out rises to my other side of the skirt to equally cut out the other pant leg. With all of that done, it looked like this. With those rises pinned together, I made straight stitches to connect them, also taking them in at the top a little bit to fit me better because I added just a little bit too much seam allowance before. With those stitched together, I sewed the inseams on each leg with a straight stitch all the way to the bottom, and then finished off all of those inside seams with a serge stitch. Now to add the waistband, I'm just taking some of that excess fabric and sewing it right sides together to the top of the pants. Then serging that inside raw edge and the very top edge as well. I decided on a side seam and visible zipper for these pants. I didn't have a side seam on the waistband, so I'm cutting to add one. Then I'm seam ripping a few inches of serging out, sewing the waistband together where I just cut, then pressing the 2 new raw edges flat and pinning on my zipper like this. Once it's all pinned, I'm using my zipper foot and sewing as close to the zipper teeth as possible, turning out to look like this. Now I can seam rip that seam stitch open to reveal my zipper, which when I tried on looked like this. Yeah, it was super lumpy. You could say I was frustrated. I spent about an hour trying to do this zipper perfectly. But, you know, not everything works out the way you plan, and it usually works out for the better, and I'm actually pretty thankful that this zipper didn't work out. So, starting over, I seam ripped that hour of workout and stitch and serge my seam back together again. For continuity, I added a seam to the other side of the waistband as well, sewing right sides together and serging to finish. Instead of a zipper, I decided on a lace-up front closure by using eyelets. I first seam ripped out a few inches of the front rise. I knew I needed to add some interfacing to stabilize this fabric for my lace-up idea to work. So I pressed the raw edges under and stitched some interfacing right on that outer edge. I stabilized the fabric even more by pressing fusible interfacing to those unsecured flaps. At this stage, I can now hem the top just by folding once over and stitching to look like this. And I also serged off the uneven excess on the inside too. Then I could start adding on my eyelets. I measured an equal distance between each one, marked that with a tiny dot, then cut a little tiny opening just big enough to push the eyelet through while still being tight around it. Then I used my eyelet pliers to crimp the back down and secure in place. After they were all done, I laced an old hoodie string through, turning out to look like this.
I promise to be there in every single way. We're doing this together, every step we take. Closer to each other, so much to discover. Getting lost with you.
What's the verdict? Pajamas or streetwear? I'm very curious to know what you think because I personally had a hard time styling them. I was really into the cropped pants idea with the whole slits on the side. I loved that. So I really did want to make the pants, but I wanted to wear them as streetwear. So I'm curious if you just think they're pajamas, only wear them inside the house, or you would wear them. What would you wear them with on the street? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you in some way. Making a pair of pants like this, or really anything, tracing another pair of pants or shirt to make a pattern out of is super easy, and I hope that this helped you with sewing or design or your style or what have you. I thank you so much for watching and hope to see you on my next video.